Let's talk about some golf, shall we? Been a while since I talked about it. Same with Formula One now that I think about it. It's been since the first episode that I've talked about it way back when. So we had major championship golf this weekend. PGA Championship at TPC Harding Park, San Francisco, California. And all I have to say about this is just wow. Just wow. This is a great weekend of golf. So at the beginning of the year, in the first episode I did of this, I had a list of young golfers to watch for in the future who could be making their way up the standings, winning some tournaments, whatnot. This list consisted of Daniel Berger, Abraham Ancer, Victor Hovland, Matthew Wolff, and none other than Collin Morikawa. Won this weekend, shooting 13 under, had a pair of 69s to start his rounds off, finished with a 65 and a 64. He's amazing. He's looked so good this year. He's really been the hot golfer so far of the season. Before running this, he had finished second at the Charles Schwab Challenge, and then won the Workday Charity Open at Muirfield Village, the house that Jack built, in a shootout against Justin Thomas. And he's done all this at 23 years old. He's the third youngest to win the PGA Championship, behind Jack Nicklaus and Rory McIlroy, which is never too bad to be in the company of in. Looked cool, calm, collected throughout the whole tournament, especially on that last round. Looked so nonchalant about it. Looked like he was just playing around a golf, just having some fun. He didn't have a single bogey in the last round. That is how you win championships. Staying perfect, staying out of the bogeys. And his shot of the day was, if you haven't seen it by now, really, I recommend you go watch it. Drivable par 4 on the 16th. Smashes the ball. Drives the green, gets it within 7 feet of the hole. And then the really impressive part, gets up there for eagle to essentially put the dagger in the tournament, nails it. Really impressive from the guy. He's only turned pro for a year now, and I just love everything about this kid. I'm saying kid even though I'm older than him, or I'm younger than him. Anyway, expect him to win major championships in the future. I really like the outlook on Collin Morikawa. Has such an easy swing. Such a beautiful backswing, especially. Really gathers himself, takes his time with it, and then unleashes all of that power. Really accurate. He's the future of the sport. Collin Morikawa. Please give me more of that. Another guy who was on my youngest list, or young stars list, was Matthew Wolff. He played really well. He's only 21. He's younger than I am. He shot a 10 under, tied for fourth. Shot a 69 in the first round, pair of 68s, and then a 65 to finish it out. His putting looked decent this weekend, but he was super accurate in his approach. He finished first in greens and regulation at 77%, and he's someone who will surely capture the attention of the public. He's got such a weird and fascinating swing. I mentioned this in the first episode as well. I'll elaborate on it here as well. So what he does is he starts with it's all his backswing really. It's so weird. He makes this jerking motion with his hips toward the target. It's like his kickstart, if you will. And then as he takes the club away, he brings it in an upward motion rather than an outward motion. And his left heel comes like way off the ground. It's really something to watch. And then on the way down, plants that left heel. Club head shallows out, immediately just drops down to a normal, like what you see a normal backswing, and just lets it go. So unique, generates so much power from that drop, that immediate drop, all that energy going straight into the ball. I can't wait to see him win some majors later down the line. He's won previous tournaments in the past, the 3M Open he won last year. I think it's bound to happen sooner rather than later, especially when he's 3 months younger than I am, and I can barely hit an iron shot. It's crazy. Love Matthew Wolff. Another young guy who also did really well, finished fourth, familiar guy in the top 10 this year, Bryson DeChambeau. Shot a 68 his first round, 70 the next, and then finished with a pair of 66s. So if you guys haven't seen, during the break, during the COVID, he put on a bunch of muscle. They said it was like 30, 40 pounds of muscle, something like that. And it's really paid dividends. He has led the pack this season in strokes gained off the tee with a 1.175 and an average distance of 323.9 yards, just mashing the ball. And you can really see it when he swings. He's just swinging the heck out of the ball, especially on his driver shots. He just loads up, puts everything he has into it. He's, along with this, always been good at putting. He's 6th in strokes gained at .838 across the season. But it's really been that extra distance from the driver that's helped him get him closer to the hole. You know, he's able to take smaller wedge shots, which he's always been pretty decent with. He doesn't have to pull out the long irons as much anymore. And it's really reduced the amount of putts that he has to take, which I said before, he's already a solid putter. So now that he can get closer to the hole, because he's closer to the greens in the first place, has really helped him break out this year and really given him some shots to win some tournaments, such as he did, at the Rocket Mortgage Classic. I think he's been getting a lot of unnecessary hate I've seen this season, especially from the golf community. Mainly, like on Instagram, I'll go on there, and I think it's from that mainly, because the PGA, they post about him as much as, they post about him as much as, ESPN or Bleacher Report posts about LeBron. It's been, every other post it seems like has been a Bryson post. So I get it, but don't get mad at Bryson for that. It's not his fault that he's getting recognized for all the hard work that he's put in. And, the PGA recognizes, hey, we have a big rising star here who has the potential to win more majors or a major down the road, and he's putting on a show. Isn't this what golfers have wanted to see? Someone young, exciting, who just mashes the ball but still does well? I don't get it. I think he gets a lot of unnecessary hate. He worked his butt off this offseason, and it's really paid off a lot. And I can't wait to see what's up and coming for this bright young star in the game. So that's someone who mashes the ball and putts well. And then someone else who I should have put on the watch list for the young guys who also mashes the ball is Cameron Champ. 25 years old. He shot an 8 under this tournament. Tied for 10th. He shot a 71 his first round. Followed up with a 64, then a 67, and then a 70 to finish it out. And I think he is the longest driver on the tour. Bryson is the one who's really challenged him this year for that, but in the past, it's always been him. He averages 321 yards off the tee, giving him 1.06 strokes gained from there. It looks effortless. He gets so much power from his hips and his swing. His shoulder goes so deep on the way back. It's honestly something to watch. It's so effortless. He unwinds all that power, and he looks so good doing it. Now, for as good as he is power-wise, he's just as bad accuracy-wise. And that has been his main issue ever since he's come on the tour, really. Especially in his approach shots. Those 6, 7, 8, 9 iron shots have really not done him any favors. Although, to be fair, his 6 iron is like someone's 4 iron, probably. And that's really where he comes into issues, is his accuracy. So this weekend especially, one shot that really sticks out that I managed to watch is on the 15th. He drove it right behind a tree. His ball landed right behind the tree, forcing him to sort of chip out into the fairway, concede a bogey. Going into the final round, he was tied for second, I believe, or third, and he really had a chance to do well in the final standings of things. But it was really that shot right there, I think, that derailed the day for him. And I think that's really a big issue with him, is his approach. But his driver and his putting is decent as well. He's not too shabby when it comes to putting. He's nothing insane either, but he had a really nice 56-foot putt this weekend on the 6th. I think that really shows what he could become as a putter. Could really become a great putter, but like I said before, biggest issue is still the approach shots. And at times, he just looks just flat out bad on that front. But with the big driver, that power can carry him through a lot of trouble. We've seen this before with golfers. Power can carry you through a lot of trouble, and that does well enough for him. And it'll be interesting to see what Cam Champ can do in the future. I'm rooting for the guy. Hopefully he does well. He mashes the ball. Always fun to see someone like that on the tour. So a surprise from the weekend came from another young guy, 24-year-old Scotty Scheffler. He would lead going into the last round, but eventually dropped to tie for 4th. As previously stated, he's only 24 years old. He tied for 10th, he shot 10 under this weekend. Shot a 66 his first round, then a 71, then a really nice 65. Finished out the day with a 68. And accuracy was really good this week. He was 12th in greens in regulation, hovering around 66 most of the weekend, averaging out to about a 69% total. And then he was 9th in driving accuracy with 61% driving accuracy this weekend. Putting was his main problem. Around the greens, big courses, that's really where you can see the lack of experience show for these young golfers. And that's the main reason you see young golfers struggle most of the time, is because they're not used to courses like this. Guys like Collin Morikawa and Cameron Champ, they did well at this course. I'm not saying that they're not great golfers, because Collin Morikawa, like I said before, I do think he's the future of the sport. But the reason why they do well, I believe, is because they're from California. They've grown up playing these types of courses, whereas Scotty Scheffler is from Dallas, Texas. He's from Texas, went to school at the University of Texas, so he really didn't get a lot of exposure to these California courses. So that's where I think the struggle really comes from in the putting department. But he's got a great future ahead of him. If he can keep putting well, that's his biggest thing. If he can get the putting well, in a good spot, keep with the solid performances, just get the putts to fall, and I really think you can see something special from him. Last young guy in the top 10, Xander Schauffele, showed up at the major as per usual for him. 26 years old, finished 8 under, tied for 10th. 66 the first round, shot a 70, then a 69, finished out the day with a 67. His approach shots have been excellent this year. He's had a 1.393 strokes gained from there. And he isn't crazy long or crazy accurate in the driving department. And he's just okay at putting. He doesn't have a negative for any of the strokes gained in these categories. And that's really the thing about Xander Schauffele, is that his approach is really good and everything else is just okay. He ranges from just okay to really good when he's at his best. And when he's at his worst, it's never anything terribly bad. He's averaging 4.28 birdies this year per round. Per round. What am I saying? Which is 10th best. He's still 6th best in scoring average this year at 69.282. And this is really a hallmark of how he shows up at the majors. Since 2017 at the U.S. Open, which was his first major that he attended, he's had 10 majors he's played in and has finished top 6 5 times, and also a top 10 and a 16th thrown in there as well. He's really a model of consistency, I feel, on the tour. Always competitive, and he's someone I'd really love to see get a major at some point in his future. He's come in second multiple times at the majors, and I love Xander Schauffele. I love his game. I love his consistency. He's never bad at anything. It's just hard to find anything bad to say about Xander Schauffele. So the top 10 also had its share fare of vets, including 43-year-old Paul Casey. He would finish tied second, 11 under, shot a 68, then a 67, another 68, and finished off with a nice 66. He's always someone who's a class act, always playing with a smile on his face. He's one of the most likable guys on the tour. Always shows respect to the game, to the person he's playing with. He was super consistent this weekend. Stayed out of troubles. Stayed out of troubles. What am I saying? Stayed out of trouble. Only had 4 bogeys. One of them which was a double. That's the hallmark of how you play good golf right there. You know, staying out of trouble, always parring out holes, avoiding bogeys like the plague. That's how you do well on golf courses. He's a class act. Love watching Paul Casey do well. You also had Dustin Johnson, who came back in a big way this tournament after being hurt the past couple of weeks, the 36-year-old. Shot 11 under. He also tied for second. Shot a 69, then a 67, 65, then sort of mellowed out with a 68 in the last round. He hit the ball long as per usual. He averaged 305 yards off the tee, and he was putting really well this weekend, especially in rounds 2 and 3 when he had a ridiculous 4.3 strokes per gain and 5.4 strokes per gain in those categories respectively for rounds 2 and 3. Really good to see him doing well again. He's always a workhorse of the tour. He's going to show up to any tournament he can play at. Really good guy to watch, Dustin Johnson. Jason Day also had a really big weekend as well. Came back in an emphatic way. The 32-year-old shot a 10 under. He was tied for 4th, shot a 65, 69, a 70, and then finished out with a 66. And he's really turned it on the past couple of weeks. He posted 11 under at the Workday Charity Open, 9 under last week at the St. Jude Invitational. Had a bogey-free first and last round, as I said before. That's a hallmark of good golf. And while his putting has always been good, his approach and his iron shots were the best out of anyone this week. He had an average of 1.975 strokes across all 4 rounds. That's strokes gained, as well as having a green and regulation percentage of 76, the second best of the weekend. I would love to see him keep this going. He's had a great level of success the past couple of weeks, and hopefully he ends this year well, because he's been sort of a non-factor the past year or so. He's really had troubles. I remember he got a new hitting coach a while back, so maybe that's what's doing it for him. So hopefully he can stay consistent, do well. I love watching Jason Day golf. Great golfer. Also, Tony Finau. Hard-hitting Tony Finau kept up his good scoring this week. The 30-year-old shot a 10 under. He tied for 4th. He had a 67, then a 70, another 67, and then a 66. And he is a long ball hitter, right? He was 6th best in average driving distance this weekend at 305 and a quarter yards. But it was his approach that really caused him to do so well. He was 2nd in approach strokes gained at 1.9. And he was 6th in greens and regulation at 72%. Really good to see him playing accurate golf as well as playing that powerful golf that he plays. And then after a long 3 weeks of being cut, after some solid outings after the restart, Justin Rose came back this weekend to take 9th place. The 40-year-old shot a 9 under. He shot a 66 to start. He shot a 68, pair of those, a 70, and then a 67. And then nothing really popped off the books this week if you look at his strokes gained, except for his putting. His putting was excellent. He finished 3rd in the field for strokes gained there at 1.78, and his approach was solid. Had some really great shots there. And it goes to show that good putting will always get you good results. Even if everything is kind of average, everything else is kind of average, which was the case for Justin this weekend. So it's really good to see him put in a good result and really bounce back in a big way. He's a nice guy to see on the tour doing well. And then the last older guy in the top 10 was the bucket hat wearing fan favorite Joel Damon, 32-year-old, shot 10 under, tied for 10th, shot a 69, pair of 68s, and then a 67 to finish. This is his best result since the restart. Finished 20th last week at St. Jude. Was super accurate with the driver, going 3rd best with a 64% driving accuracy, pairing with some great putting that gave him 6th best in strokes gained there at 1.4. Really good to see him doing well. Always rocking the shades and the bucket hat. He's really been having a rough go of it this year, and it's really good to see him this week and last week getting some results inside the top 20 and top 10. So overall, PGA Championship. So this reminds me that while golf is always good to watch, if nothing else is on, like was the case, it was really for a while, for me anyway, it was golf and Formula One were the only things really to watch. So golf is always a good sport to watch if there's nothing else going on the weekend. But major golf is always going to be must-watch television.